everybody in Facebook land. It's Tracy Napotnick with salontraining.com. I have a very special guest that I met this year, a couple months ago, and she is amazing with thinning hair clients and just listening to her story on so many things. I am super excited to share with you with her today. Her name is Shanna, like banana, and I'm going to say that all the time now, Moll. And she is just brilliant in what she does. She is taking her salon from one level to an extremely high level with some things that we're going to be talking about today. But I want to first tell you, if you're new here, you're just watching this on YouTube or someone else's channel, what salon training is, who are we, why did we start, that kind of thing, and what we're about. So salontraining.com, I'm going to share this real quick. Salontraining.com is a platform. It's a directory for the beauty industry where you can find trainers, classes, jobs, shows, products, all kinds of different things. And so what we're going to show you today before we get into hers is after this, if you want to reach out to Shanna, like the banana. Yeah. There we go. You can go right on our homepage. She's listed here. You can open this up and find all the information about her. You can find her email here, her Facebook, her Instagram, her website. I highly encourage you to join her Instagram and Facebook page for many reasons. Once you're done with this, you'll understand why. She can teach you something that can bring in massive amounts of income for your salon, as well as really help your clients that are thinning out. So, all right, if you need anything else, again, just register on salontraining.com. It's free, and you can find any trainers out there that are in our platform, and we are growing every single week. So I'm going to stop the share so we can jump into our interview and the mini class today. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Shanna Moll, and I have been a hairdresser for about 36 years. I need to check the dates on that. They keep getting longer and longer. I'm not sure when they get even longer. So a hairdresser for 36 years. By the grace of God, about 7 years ago, I was led into the world of hair loss and hair replacement and alternative hair. So up until 7 years ago, I was a hairdresser behind the chair, much like everybody who's watching this. And at that point in my career, I was getting a little tired. And it just got to the point where I just needed something, and it fell in my lap. So what was that? How did it happen? And what have I done with it? So I learned about hair loss. And the first class I ever took, learning something called long hair bonding, which is my specialty. I have a class actually the Sunday before the show, right? I'm doing a hands-on certification class. And we only have a few spots left, so grab one. But what ended up happening was I learned about hair loss. I learned about a number of solutions to be able to help my clients. And in 2017, I opened my studio. So the year of 2017, prior to opening my studio in April, the end of 2016, I did $85,000 behind the chair, double booking, working 8 hours a day, still having a passion and loving what I'm doing. But I was getting a little older, and nobody ever taught us about what's your exit plan and what's the big picture and all of that, right? So I learned all of this, and I took my business from the end of 2016 to last year. And last year we did 1.4 million.
Can I pause you for a second question? Yes. Because that's amazing. That's from 85 to how much?
1.4 million last year.
85,000 to 1.4 million in that time frame is incredible. Now, there are some people that are listening that might be from Beverly Hills that they're like, oh my gosh, I can make that in a week. And then there's some people that would make that in 10 years. So right. Just curious, where are you from first? Like, where did you say you were from?
I'm from Austin, Texas. Well, I'm from Dallas, but Austin, Texas was my home for the last 30 years.
Okay, to give the listeners perspective, what is the average haircut price there? Because I think
the average haircut price in Austin, Texas, on average, I would say is about $60 for a lady's haircut.
Okay, so that gives us an idea. Like, that's a huge jump that you went from. So that's amazing.
Yes. And the way I was able to do that, first of all, my business, and I think this is a really important key to put out here before deciding to want to help your clients with hair loss, is you have to come from empathy, transparency, and integrity. Because the reason why is you hold this very delicate community in your hand. They are a desperate, captive audience, and you need to honor that. So people ask me, well, what was your business model? That is my business model. By doing the next right thing and coming from my heart with data, like, right, we all want to make money. We all need to make money, but how are we doing it? And so it allowed me to go from a hairdresser behind the chair, learning about hair loss, just me. Within 8 months, I went and opened my own studio by myself with a receptionist. And then it was 6 rooms. And I was in a solo salon. I was paying about $500 a week in rent because I went to a triple room. And I started running the numbers, and I started to see what was happening with my business from just a few hair replacement clients. I'm not kidding. I had about 6 or 7 when I opened my studio, plus a full book as a mainstream hairdresser. So what did I do? I added a facialist, I added a massage therapist, I started renting out a couple of rooms. So I made it possible with the data and the passion and the few clients I had, and I created what used to be Shanna Moll Studios. As I progressed and I got busier and busier, I hired a hairdresser to take over my mainstream business so I could really focus on the hair loss. Now, I want to speak to the hairdresser who is charging $60 an hour, or maybe even less, and say you can grow your business. And it doesn't have to be from hair replacement immediately. It can be just the basis of learning about the different types of hair loss and what are some treatments you can offer in the salon right away.
So what are a couple of those before you get into the major thing with hair, long hair bonding, which is incredible?
Okay, so there's something called trichology. There are many lines out there who state they can make your hair grow faster, they can make it grow thicker, they can, a lot of promises. The first thing I will say is look at their testing and their data on the success of that product line. Because, right, you want to be able to stand behind what you say you're going to do. So there are a few lines out there, and what you can do is you can start offering in your salon what we call scalpels. Scalp facials.
Okay.
Right? Because what we're not taught in beauty school or anywhere else in the industry until now is that this and this are the same organism. We're taught to wash this twice a day, moisturize it, use great products. We're telling our clients not to shampoo their hair every day. Some of us are telling our clients to only shampoo once or twice a week. If this and this are the same organism, there's a missing link, right? So when I started learning from a medical background, it blew my mind. So that's the first thing that we offer in the studio. It's called trichology. When that client sits in your chair and says to you a few different things. One, I feel like my ponytail's getting smaller. How many times have you heard that one? Or
I heard that this weekend, actually. Previous client called me and said, hey, I'm having some issues.
Right. And we hear that a lot, but we don't know what to do with that information. What are we going to do? We're going to highlight it, give it a little texture, show you how to do some back combing, but it's not helping the issue. And if that issue continues, then you have to get that client in alternative hair. And there are a number of options within the alternative hair world. The first thing being something that we call a daily wear, a topper, something you can take off and on, or a wig. And a lot of people go for a wig when they don't even need one yet, or one at all, depending on what solutions you have. Now, I have a wig boutique in my studio as well. We offer everything from the very beginning of my scalp is too oily, my scalp is dry and itchy, all the way through to hair loss and profound hair loss. So That's how the beginning stages that I believe you hairdressers can bring this in your studios now without changing your space, without hiring anybody else, and just focusing on what we call scatials first. So what you can do with that is you offer a service in your studio, you teach them how to use the products, you give them a beautiful environment, and you do a treatment on their head as you're teaching them, and then you send them home with the products. So bam, there's 1 hour, charge whatever your hour's worth.
When you say treatments that you're doing like that for in the salon, what are some that you have done?
Well, the treatment line that we use is a medical line from Italy. And there's only 50 of us in the United States that are licensed to use these products. So that's one of the reasons why I'm out there talking to other manufacturers saying, hey guys, we need this in the hairdressing world. I'm in conversations with somebody right now about producing a trichology line for hairdressers. It doesn't have to be so medical like I've done with microscopes and things like that. I want to start people where they're at, meet you where you're at, and teach you where you can start, right? So trichology is something we do in the studio. We have a very quiet, private room. All of our rooms are private because the majority of our business is long hair bonding, which I'll get into that in a second. And so we create an environment, right? The more you can create an environment, the more money you can charge. You're setting yourself apart. So they come in, they relax, they're handed a drink menu. We have nuts and chocolates and everything to fill all the senses of that client for the client experience. So that's trichology. When I meet, do you have a quote?
Oh no, I was just gonna say real quick too.
Yeah.
I preach this so much to have just slow down on the shampoo. I know it's not about the
Yes.
but that's the favorite part. I went so many different places. I went to Starbucks and Walmart and anywhere that I could do. And I started researching people that I didn't know. And I said, what's your favorite thing about a salon? Can you answer me that? They'd always, always, always say the shampoo. What do we always skimp on? The shampoo.
And here's one of the things when I'm in a studio and I'm teaching about salon environment and culture. I have a whole program from like the time you walk in the front door all the way through. And so I work with studios, salons, adding this to their businesses. One of the exercises that I do with the team is I talk about our environments and nature and what God has given us. And I talk about connecting to the water as you're doing that shampoo. We have to protect our energy as hairdressers, right? We do everything from our heart. We go home, we're exhausted. Take that moment while you're shampooing for yourself. Close your eyes. Give that client that energy and that feeling that's going to protect you as well.
Awesome.
So it just kind of gives you that visual and that breathing, and dim the lights if you can, if you're in a private room or you have a shampoo area. I totally agree with you, Tracy. That's half of taking care of that client. Your hands are on them. Your energy is working with them. So I'm glad you brought that up. So trichology, it's when a client comes in, they're in the beginning stages, and then we talk about alternative hair. So what is long hair bonding? And why is it so important? Also, I'm teaching this in the hair replacement world. I think I'm one of the first that's bringing it to the hairdresser because guess what? You're the first line of defense. You know, you're the one hearing, I feel like the texture of my hair has changed, right? So that's why I'm bringing this to what I call mainstream hair. So long hair bonding, what is it? It's the ability to take a topper this big or this big and apply it to a woman's scalp or men and the hair and the system all together, creating a bond that will last for 4 to 6 weeks. So I get a lot of feedback on Instagram. I had one of my reels go viral with like 1.5 million. And with that, I got a lot of some negative feedback, right? When you have that many people and they're like, that's going to rip the hair out and that's terrible for the follicles and the scalp can't breathe. And first of all, our scalps don't breathe. Do they need to be clean? Yes. but they don't breathe. So when you're taking a system and you're attaching it for 4 to 6 weeks, it doesn't itch. If it itches, there are things that we use in the studio for the scalp when we're doing treatment to detoxify and to take care of any scalp itching. The next thing I get asked is, well, is it hot? The only reason why it's hot is because now you have nice thick hair that you can put in a fabulous ponytail if you want, or a really full short haircut. When I say long hair bonding, right, people think long hair.
I thought that so many times whenever I was first meeting, I'm like, wow, what if these people don't want long hair? I think of the people that have short hair that just are thinning. So I'm glad you mentioned this.
Yeah, so long hair bonding just means it's a no shave method. And I will tell you, in the hair replacement world, they have been shaving the tops of people's heads and bonding it to the skin. Now, I don't know about you, but when I sit in front of my client who's been able to hide with the little bit of hair and tease it and work it, and for sometimes 30 minutes to an hour, and then they go out in the wind or the rain, forget it. Those people don't want to shave their heads. You've just taken them to a more vulnerable place than they already are. So I learned this technique back in 2016. And what I did is I learned it in the hair replacement world, but I broke it down for the hairdresser to make it really easy. And what I have found is that's long hair bonding has made us extremely successful. Keynote, I don't even live where my studio is. I live 4 hours away.
Wow.
And that just happened in the last 8 months. Great artistic, amazing team, great culture. And that's the only way you can be as successful as I've been in such a short amount of time. And I hear a lot. Well, we had a walkout. What happened? Oh, Susie did this, and then she took so and so. If you have a great culture and you're treating your team as they should be treated, they're not going to walk. Now, what's the flip side of that? As salon owners, we can't afford to take care of our teams because of the rising costs, because we can't raise our prices hardly anymore, right? So what long hair bonding offers to you is, first, you're selling them 2 systems up front. So let's say each one of those systems costs you $800. Now, it depends on what your market can bear, right? And the one thing I do say is do your research in your market. You will find very few hair replacement salons. You'll find some boutiques, but they don't have artists that work at them, right? So you bringing your artistic skills to this side of the industry is of the utmost importance, because you need to know how to make it look real, which is another thing that's missing in the hair replacement world in most studios. So bringing it to the hairdresser and saying, hey, let me take the skills you already have that are so amazing. You're working your butt off, but you love what you do. Let's add a product that is going to cost you $800. And let's say you're in an area where haircut's only $50. And that may be a lot for some people, but coming from Austin, that's not a lot. So what your market can bear. So let's say you just paid $800 for it, and you only charge $1,600. Right there off the bat, you have made a profit of $1,600 because you sold them 2, and you have to sell 2. Well, now you've made that money up front, and now you're going to charge every 4 to 6 weeks for their service.
So for those who don't know why you have to charge 2, because that question got brought up to me whenever I was telling someone that's going to be getting one of your classes. You don't have to, but it's highly recommended so that you can have the washing in between and stuff, correct?
Right. So the reason why I teach having to is it sets you up for success, and it sets your client up for success. Okay. So let's say something freakish happens to the one that's on her head. She damaged it, whatever, or maybe it was a manufacturer defect and it started shedding and losing hair quickly. Well, you don't have a backup there. And now this person who's been seeing themselves with their dream hair may have to wait a week or 2, or sometimes even longer, especially if it was a custom. So the other reason is you're taking more time while that client's in your chair to clean and process that system to put it back on their head. That can be a 30 to 45-minute process. So instead of that service taking you 2 hours, you're going to be almost at 3 hours. And right, time is money.
So let's back up just a couple minutes. So long hair bonding or just bonding hair, doesn't matter if it's long or short or medium.
Right.
So of course there's toppers, there's hair extensions, there's, thickening, whatever. But whenever you're doing this, that is a metal grade, you create this, correct? Like, can you explain a little bit about what the difference is?
Yes. So in our studio, we use 2 types of products. One, we use something that's called a 3D cranial prosthetic. Now that's a line, again, it's CR Labs, Cesare Ragazzi, the one of the manufacturers that I work out of Italy. Like I said, there's only one, we're only one of 50 in the United States licensed to use their trichology and this 3D cranial prosthetic that takes 4 to 5 months to create. Used to be only 3, but of course, after COVID, with everything else, the harvesting of the hair and it being made got slammed. So it's about 4 to 5 months. So that's one product. I will tell you that the last 2 systems of that I sold were about $17,000 in hair. So I really take that off the table when I'm talking to the new mainstream hairdresser who's going into hair replacement, because that's a whole nother level, right? And I'm in a city that can handle a product like that. So let's talk about what we call customized stock items. And that's what I train with. Those are the manufacturers that I introduce the students to. They're a more affordable option. They're just as beautiful if you know how to cut them in and you know how to work with that hair by custom coloring. So you really are taking a stock item and you're customizing it for that client. Now, we charge for the color as well. So not only are you selling the hair, you're getting the hair as close to your final desired look. And that sometimes you have to tweak it. So we charge for the color and then you charge for the service. So the reason why, I'll just jump back with my ADD brain, like everybody else listening, is having the 2. So one is prepped a couple of days before they come in. Mary Sue likes her hair parted on the left. She wants to try beach waves this time. That hair is styled and waiting for her.
You can still style once they have it on their hair. They can still shape try it, style it.
Yes. So right?
So for those that don't really understand really at all, because I didn't either, what you were talking about, what is long hair bonding? So what makes them different than extensions? Like
So extensions, you can't cover the top of the head.
Right.
Extensions, you can only take so high. So that's great. We see a lot of people who come in with nice thick hair here, but they're still spraying their scalp and teasing.
Okay. So you could do a topper that can be taken out, and then you can do what you're calling
right. So you can wear a daily topper.
Okay.
And what we do is the daily toppers that we sell can then transfer into a bonded topper. So now they're just buying one more.
Okay. And the bonded topper, you can stay on 4 to 6 weeks.
Yes.
And you form the shell almost, right? Like, am I saying that correctly? By watching the videos a little?
Yeah. So what I do is I create something called a die-cast or a mold, and I do it with fiberglass. And so what that does is it gives me the shape of the system that we're going to use for that client. It gives me the ability to measure where that system's going to sit every time before I bond it, because you've cut it in. The client's visually used to looking at their dream hair now. So too many times in the hair replacement world, I've had clients come in and say, oh, it was too far forward, it was too far back. So what the die-cast does or mold does, gives you the ability, you write all the information, Mary Sue, it sits at 8.5 centimeters. And this is when she started with this design. Then we measure from the bridge of the nose and we sit that die-cast where the system's going to sit. It's the same size, same shape, and we draw around it with an eyeliner, making sure that you get down to the scalp as well. Then what we do is we put adhesive within that perimeter of the mold or biocast. We apply about 1.5 to 2 inches of adhesive around the perimeter on the head. And then we do the same thing with the system. Once everything is cured, usually about 10 minutes, depending on the person's body chemistry and environment, we then do something called a finger roll, where we marry the scalp and the biological hair. So it's not attached just to the hair, which will create stress and movement, which can create traction alopecia, which means having hair pulled or stressed in one direction or the other can create hair loss. Okay, it's not permanent. You've not done anything to the follicle. The hair still grows, but nonetheless still disheartening if you see it when you take off your system. So we marry the scalp and the hair. The next step is we take the system, we place it right where it's going to sit, where that border is. And I always start just a smidge behind that, because inevitably, and you'll learn what your hand motions do, I always inevitably move up a little bit. So I know where to lay it based upon how I've been doing it. So we lay it on, we rock it back and forth till it's snug. We lay it down, and then I take a towel over the system and over the head. I have the client hold it like this, and I then mold it to the head. So now I have the scalp, the biological hair, and the system are all married.
That's great.
And then over the 4 to 6 weeks, it breaks down. The adhesive breaks down, body chemistry, sweat, heat breaks it all down. And when they come in their 4 to 6 weeks, again, depending on their body chemistry, it'll take you anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes to get it off.
Okay. And they can swim, they can do pretty much
anything they want. The whole purpose of a bonded topper is so that you can dive in the water and come up and not be worried about your hair or what you look like, and do those things you want to do again. Like I hear in the studio during a consultation, I don't want to sit under a bright light in a restaurant. I don't want to go swimming. It's really difficult for me to be intimate because I've got all these powders on my head, or I've been wearing a wig, or fill in the blank for that person's life. And now you've given them all back, all of that back.
The emotional part that you and I talked about is just incredible. Like what you're doing for your clients. That's just, you're giving them life back.
It really is incredible. If you think about it, and I tell this to clients all the time, and at one point you'll hear my story of how I actually ended up in this spot. Was a very emotional journey for me. And so when you think about changing every single person's life that walks through your door with this sort of service, that for me, I never look at my numbers. I know what I need to hit at the end of the month, right? But I never looked at my numbers because it's not about selling. And I go back and forth with my other friends who are educators, how are you going to close that deal? And I'm going to tell you guys, I remember in the beauty industry, which was one of the things that really killed me, was you put 3 products in front of that client and they're going to buy 1.2. That's the data. I always teach, educate that client, come from transparency and integrity. And if they don't need that product that you're being told to sell them, don't sell it to them right now. Tell them, you know what? I don't see any big issues with what's going on with your hair. When that runs out, we'll replace this. That's one of the other things that made me successful. So when I'm working with my other counterparts and they're like, well, how do you close that sale? And I don't. I educate that client on what their options are for their journey. I send them home with an estimate. And I say, I really want you to look at this. I want you to see what fits best for you long-term, because half of our clientele is under the age of 40.
Wow. Half of your clientele is under 40 with hair loss.
Yeah. Yeah. We have people in our studio from the age of 17 to 80 wearing hair.
Great. Well, thank you for coming on today. Let's real briefly, for those of you that are watching this before April 25th, 2023, if you're in the Pennsylvania region, or even if you're on the outskirts, we invite you to come to the Pennsylvania Beauty Pros Expo that is being held at Seven Springs Mountain Resort, Monday and Tuesday, April 24th and 25th. and you will be on main stage teaching this, correct?
Yes, I'm very excited.
You can see this live in person. Like I said at the very beginning of this, you can also go to salontraining.com, go right on the homepage or search under trainers, either one. And you can find Studio
Studio U.
Studio U. I went to say it and I was like, wait, it's in the background too. And then so Studio U Education right on the homepage. You can find email. You have pre-recorded videos that are coming on salontraining.com.
Yes.
And I still need to finish that conversation with you. We got almost all of it ready. We have like 2 or 3 more parts. And I know I keep saying that, but that was definitely the hardest part of salontraining.com. Yes. But it's almost ready, guys. You'll be able to go to our website, go under classes, and purchase any classes that are pre-recorded. And I know your system is going to be on there. When you are teaching at Seven Springs, they can visit your booth because you're going to have a booth on the vendor floor. They can visit you on main stage and in a classroom. They can also reach out to you beforehand. And you mentioned we are going to be doing a class that they can get certified, because you do need to get certified on this too, correct?
Well, when I say certification, the reason why I believe certified is because I think you really need to take an intensive class that takes you through it step by step, including all the issues that you're going to have. So watching this online and buying a video will give you all of that step by step, and you can watch it over and over and over. And taking a hands-on accreditation class will also give you all of that. Some people like to learn in person. Some people like to learn on video. I'm also teaching in Dallas. March 26th through the 28th. Jump on my page. You can see that. That is very few are going to be in this training in Dallas. We're going through how to take insurance if you sell wigs, how to learn about custom systems. What I'm going to be teaching is actually long hair bonding and the business of long hair bonding.
Okay. Great. Well, where is that at a show as well, or where is that?
Called Legends and Masters, the medical edition.
Oh, okay.
And that's on all my social media as well.
Great. All right. Thank you so much for today. And I'm sure we'll be seeing you again. Maybe we'll do another class on the business part of it here in a few months. So
that sounds great. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be part of this community, and tell your friends about this community, because the educators, I'm actually taking a class. Baby. I'm actually taking a class from Mary and Philip Wilson right now on becoming a great presenter. So I know that they're on there. I know that there are a lot of educators on there as an educator that I want to educate with.
There's so much that people have to share. You know, you are really great at that. And Taylor is really great at razor cuts. And Mary Wilson and Philip Wilson are master haircutters and the program that you mentioned. So yes, that's what this is all about, is finding resources to connect, you know, and help us grow.
Right.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And we will talk to you soon. See ya.
Have a blessed day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.